So today I'm going to be talking about sports injuries in adolescence. I'm just going to be going over some simple prevention tips and some education on sports-related injuries in adolescence. So the first, I'm just going to go over some quick statistics. So the majority of sports injuries occur more in males than in females. So 66.97% of sports-related injuries in adolescents occur in males. So the most occurring sport injuries occur in football, so that accounts for 31.13% of sports injuries are related to football. And the primary areas that are affected with sports injuries are the lower extremities, which account for 68.71% in the lower extremities, and the majority of that is in the knees. So the knee is the particular region which is affected, so that accounts for 29.79%. That's followed by the ankle. So some potential risk factors include the type of equipment used. So for football, they have a lot of pads, a lot of physical contact type of gear related to soccer, where they only wear shin guards. So that's a potential risk factor because you're wearing more pads, because there's going to be more physical contact. Another potential risk factor is how long they're playing on the field. So just statistically, the longer you're on the field, the more of a risk you have of acquiring a sports-related injury. That also goes along with how long they've been playing the sport. So maybe they're brand new to the sport, they don't really know the rules, the regulations, the types of things that a person, let's say, has been playing football for a long time. They know like the general atmosphere of what's going on. So you might not be totally aware of potentially getting hit from a different angle, so you're not paying complete attention. You don't really know the sport. Another potential risk factor is their fitness level. This could be a lot of things. So, if you're not really strong enough or flexible, this could make you more susceptible to an injury. So like if you're not stretching enough, if you're not lifting weights, again, back to football, you need a good strong build, a good solid body, and not get pummeled all over the place. So depending on your fitness level, that can make you more susceptible as well. And then also like the position, your role in that sport. So if you're a lineman in football, you're constantly getting hit, constantly coming in contact, running backs. For soccer, goalies, they're mostly inside the goal, away from contact. Or a lot of it could be back to like the flexibility thing with gymnastics. So it's like a single sport. It's a one-person thing. So if you're not training, you're not exercising those muscles that you're going to be using during performance, then you're most likely at a higher risk for causing an injury to yourself. So let's go over some key prevention tips for sports injuries. So let's first talk about the gear. So we're gonna make sure that the child has the right protective equipment for that sport. So again, football, gonna make sure they're wearing their helmet, all their pads. For soccer, making sure that they're wearing their shin guards. And other sports that require wearing protective equipment, just making sure that they have the right equipment on. But going off of equipment, we want to make sure that the equipment is in good condition. You know, that you're not missing any buttons, buckles, straps, anything of that, so the gear isn't going to be functioning properly. So you're also going to want to make sure it fits properly. So you don't want like a real loose helmet if you're wearing, or if you're playing football. You don't want loose shin guards that are going to come out of your socks when you're playing. And then you also want to make sure you're wearing these things correctly. So obviously you can't really mess up wearing a helmet. It goes on one way. But yeah, so you want to make sure you're wearing the equipment where it's supposed to go. Another thing to prevent sports injuries is staying hydrated. Not something you really think about, but when you become dehydrated, your muscles can lose elasticity. So in like very hot environments, you can also suffer from like heat stroke, or, you know, just dehydration. So you want to make sure you're staying hydrated during hot temperatures. And the same with cold temperatures. So you want to make sure you're staying warm during cold temperatures. Sometimes football and soccer go later on into the cold months. So you want to make sure you're staying warm, making sure nothing's going to lock up, seize up, making sure you're loose. And then another big thing is making sure you use the proper technique for that sport. So a lot of, for instance, football injuries are just poor technique for tackling. So you could be leaning in with your head and you can get a spinal injury. For soccer, you want to make sure you're not using your head all that much, because, you know, if you're trying to flick the ball with your head, you could knock your head into someone else's head. Maybe slide tackling, you can have the improper technique for that and cause someone else to have an injury, or yourself. So making sure you have the proper technique, and making sure you're following medical advice. So if, you know, you're not cleared to play just because, you know, you're in high school and you got that energy, that drive, you're missing it, making sure that you're cleared to play. You don't want to cause more injury and maybe even permanent damage to yourself, and then you can never play again. So these are the educational reasons for sports injuries in adolescence.